an astonishing number of Honda Jazz owners buy another, and the improved third generation version we're looking at here aims to keep them loyal. Smarter looks and the option of a perkier 1.5 litre iVTEC engine aim to widen the Super Mini segment customer demographic. But as before, this Jazz will primarily sell on the back of its unrivaled practicality. For very good reasons. This is the Super Mini that industry insiders frequently recommend.
Jazz buyers get a couple of iVTEC petrol engine options, 130 PS 1.5 litre unit joining the range alongside the 102 PS 1.3 litre power plant that most buyers choose. Both are old tech, normally aspirated 4-cylinder engines, but they come mated to a sweet shifting 6-speed gearbox. You'll be using that stick shift quite a lot because the lack of a turbo here means that frequent cog swapping is needed to maintain anything approaching rapid forward motion. Optional is CVT automatic transmission, which enables the Jazz to return very reasonable efficiency figures, up to 60.1 mpg on the combined cycle and 106 grams per kilometre of CO2 in a base 1.3 litre model. We would suggest, though, that the auto variants are really appropriate for urban-based buyers only. Engine refinement and ride quality over poor surfaces could certainly be better, but around the corners, the Jazz feels sharper than you might expect thanks to reasonably fearsome steering and an AHA, active handling assist system, which helps to get traction down through the bends. There's some clever technology too, like the intelligent speed limiter. Now that works in conjunction with a traffic sign recognition system, and the setup knows what the prevailing speed limit is and it limits your pace accordingly, so there's no chance of absent-mindedly creeping past 30 miles an hour and getting zapped by a roadside camera. This improved version of the Mark III model Jazz has a slightly more mature, sophisticated look than the earlier car, thanks to styling changes that align it more closely with the current 10th generation Civic. It's now just a little bit more grown up, and that'll suit the target market. Time to take a seat inside. Now, we've always thought that Honda's very good at front of cabin design. Other manufacturers might deliver classier ambiances and higher quality materials, but in terms of driving comfort and ease of use, this Japanese brand just seems to be more precisely tuned in than most when it comes to creating an at-the-wheel experience that feels just right from the moment you set off. Through the 3-spoke multifunction steering wheel, you're presented with a prominent speedometer that's deeply recessed into the silver bezel binnacle, and it's flanked by 2 smaller circular gauges. The left-hand one shows revs, and the right-hand one is a TFT screen that shows key driving data. Anything that this display can't tell you will be covered by a glance at this centre panel. It's angled towards the driver, and it incorporates the key addition to the interior of this third generation Jazz model, this 7-inch Honda Connect colour infotainment touchscreen. Time to take a seat in the rear. Now, the Jazz has always been the most spacious car in its class, and thanks to the extra 30mm of wheelbase length that was designed into this third generation model, it still is. What really marks this Jazz apart from its contemporaries, though, is the packaging brilliance that continues to allow it to stand out. That's made possible by the way that the fuel tank has been positioned under the front seats to liberate the floor of the cabin and allow the seats to be folded into all sorts of permutations. Let's take just one of them, the so-called refresh mode. So people in the back, exhausted on a longer trip, would use this when there's no one in the front passenger seat. Now, this setting allows the front seat back to be reclined into a flat position, meeting the rear seat base. Perhaps, though, you're in need of greater practicality, specifically for the carriage of the kind of tall items that you normally wouldn't expect to be able to accommodate in a car like this. Maybe a small potted tree that you bought from the garden centre, or perhaps a bulky item of electrical equipment. And that's when you use the Magic Seat Tall mode, where the front of the rear seat base rises up and can be locked in position to leave a cargo height of 1280mm from floor to ceiling. And that allows the object in question to be placed in behind the front seats. The other two Magic Seat settings relate to the more conventional cargo configurations that we'll have a look at now. Raise the rear hatch and you'll note the wide cargo opening and the impressively low loading lip that paved the way towards a class-leadingly large 354-litre boot. But let's say you need more room and you want to push forward the 60/40 split folding rear seats, for example, to store something like a bicycle. That's when you move into the Magic Seat System's utility mode. And the first thing you notice with that is the ease of the folding process. Here, you only have to release a simple lever mechanism, push forward from the rear, and just watch as the backrest and the seat base retract together into the rear footwell in one quick, fluid motion. If you're not using the front passenger seat, there's the option to recline that as part of the final Magic Seat Long mode. Now with that done, items as long as 2,480mm can be accommodated. Honda does things differently, and we can't help liking that. Whether the model in question is a Civic, a Clarity fuel cell vehicle, or a Type R hot hatch, you'll find it's been uniquely engineered and packaged, as is the case with this Jazz. Now, this always used to be the Super Mini that motoring experts would recommend as a small car that they would buy with their own money. For us, it still is. Try one, and you'll understand.